I still remember the exact moment my marriage ended. It wasn't when my wife asked for a divorce. It wasn't even when she packed her bags and left. No, my marriage ended the night I found those videos. For months, I'd been wondering how my wife suddenly started bringing home so much money. We had always struggled financially. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. The bills were paid. The debt was disappearing. She told me she had found a better job. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. But something never felt right. She worked strange hours, spent most of her time at home, and whenever I asked questions, she changed the subject. One night, while scrolling through the internet, I saw a familiar face. At first, I thought I was imagining things. Then I clicked, and in that moment, my entire world collapsed. A year ago, my wife and I were barely surviving. We had been married for 7 years, and money had always been our biggest problem. Credit cards, loans, unpaid bills. Every month felt like a battle. There were nights when we sat at the kitchen table wondering which bill we could afford to pay and which one would have to wait. The stress was destroying us. We argued constantly, not because we didn't love each other, but because we were exhausted. Then one day my wife came home smiling. She told me she had found a new job, a much better job. I was genuinely happy for her. She wouldn't tell me exactly what she was doing. She only said it was online work and that she preferred not to talk about it until everything became stable. I didn't push. I trusted her. At first, everything seemed perfect. Within a few weeks, things started changing. The overdue bills disappeared. Our fridge was always full. For the first time in years, we could breathe. But something felt strange. She rarely left the house. Most days, she spent hours alone in our spare bedroom with the door locked. Whenever I accidentally walked in, she quickly closed her laptop. And every time I asked what she was working on, she gave me the same answer. "Don't worry, I'm taking care of us." I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I had already started to suspect that my wife was hiding something from me. Over the next few months, our financial situation improved more than I ever thought possible. For the first time in years, we weren't worried about money. We paid off old debts, bought new furniture, even started talking about taking our first vacation in years. But while our bank account was growing, the distance between us was growing too. My wife became increasingly secretive. She always kept her phone close. She changed passwords. She spent hours locked inside the spare bedroom. Sometimes I could hear her laughing. Other times, she would come out emotionally exhausted and immediately go take a shower. Whenever I asked questions, she became defensive. "Why are you interrogating me? Don't you trust me?" Eventually, I stopped asking. I told myself I was overthinking. I convinced myself that I should simply be grateful. Then one evening, while my wife was visiting a friend, I was sitting alone in the living room scrolling through social media. A suggested video appeared on my screen. I almost kept scrolling, but something caught my attention. The woman's voice. It sounded familiar. Too familiar. Curious, I clicked. And then I froze. I couldn't breathe. Staring back at me on the screen was my wife. There was no doubt. It was her. I replayed the video several times, desperately hoping I was wrong. I wasn't. My hands started shaking. I felt sick. For months I had been wondering what she was hiding. Now I finally had my answer, and I wished I had never found it. I sat there for almost an hour staring at my phone. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, shock, confusion, betrayal. Everything hit me at once. When my wife finally came home that night, I was waiting for her. The moment she saw my face, she knew something was wrong. I held up my phone. I didn't even have the strength to speak. Quietly, I asked, "How long?" The color disappeared from her face. For a few seconds, she said nothing. Then she sat down and started crying. She admitted everything. The new job, the secret, the lies. She told me she had started months earlier because she was terrified. We were going to lose our home. She said she felt desperate. She said she never wanted to hurt me. She truly believed she was saving our family. "I did it for us," she kept repeating. But all I could think about was one thing. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you hide it? She explained that she was ashamed. She was afraid I would stop loving her, afraid I would leave. And maybe she was right. Because as I looked at her sitting there crying in front of me, something inside me had already changed. I still loved my wife, but I no longer knew if I could trust her. And without trust, I wasn't sure our marriage could survive. For the next few weeks, we tried to save our marriage. At least that's what we both told ourselves. My wife quit the job immediately. She deleted every account, closed everything, promised there would be no more secrets. She gave me access to her phone, her laptop, everything. She was willing to do whatever it took to rebuild my trust. And part of me wanted to believe that we could survive this. I truly did. I loved her. I still do. But something inside me had changed. Every morning I woke up hoping things would feel normal again. They never did. Whenever she picked up her phone, I wondered who she was talking to. Whenever she closed the door to another room, I felt anxious. Whenever she smiled while looking at a screen, my mind immediately went back to those videos. I hated feeling that way. I hated becoming suspicious of the woman I loved. But I couldn't control it. The trust we had spent years building had disappeared overnight. One evening, my wife sat next to me on the couch. She looked exhausted. So did I. Quietly, she took my hand and asked, "Are we going to be okay?" I looked at her and realized something painful. I didn't know. For weeks, I'd been trying to convince myself that love would be enough. But every day felt harder than the one before. We stopped laughing, stopped making plans, stopped talking about the future. We were no longer husband and wife. We were two broken people living in the same house, desperately trying to hold on to something that was already slipping away. A few days later, my wife came into the kitchen and started crying. "I know you don't look at me the same way anymore," she said. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but I couldn't, because she wasn't. I still loved her. But every time I looked at her, I saw the secret, the lies, the months of hiding things from me. And I realized that although I had forgiven her in my heart, I couldn't forget. And I couldn't continue living with constant doubt. A few days later, I finally told her the truth. "I love you," I said, "but I don't think I can live like this anymore." She started crying immediately. So did I. Neither of us wanted our marriage to end. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes when trust is broken, two people slowly become strangers. A month later, we signed the divorce papers. As she walked away for the last time, I kept asking myself the same question. If she had simply told me the truth from the beginning, would we still be together today? It's been 8 months since our divorce. People often ask me if I regret leaving. The truth is, I don't know. I understand why my wife made the choices she did. I know she was trying to help us. I know she believed she was saving our future. And maybe in her own way, she was. But a marriage cannot survive without trust. Love is important, but trust is everything. I still miss her sometimes. I still think about the life we could have had. But some secrets change a relationship forever. And once trust is broken, putting the pieces back together isn't always possible. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. No matter how difficult the truth may be, honesty will always hurt less than a secret discovered too late. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Dark Whispers. Your support means the world to us and helps keep these stories alive. See you in the next story.